So welcome. How's it going, boys?
All right.
Very good, bro. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being here. Well, I say thanks for being here. We're in Anton's apartment, so thanks for having us.
It's all right. It's a pleasure and a privilege.
Yeah, of course. So just to add some context to this conversation before we start, do you both want to let people know a bit about you? Sachin, you can go first because you've already been on the podcast as a full episode.
Oh, yeah.
So you don't have to dive in because people can check that episode out. It was episode 102,
I think so.
it was. But yeah, just give some context about what you do and everything else.
Cool. So my name's Sachin. I'm a business coach and spiritual mentor. I've been coaching for like 4 years or so. I do a podcast as well, and YouTube channel. I'm very active on the gram. That's about it.
Nice.
I'm up to a few different things at the moment. I'm going through a very like a transient phase of life where like I do this. I'm mainly a producer of podcasts.
Sick.
That's it.
So Anton has been heard on the podcast a few times as well, namely episode 50, episode 100, and then the end of year one last year.
Yeah.
You've been on it a few times, haven't you?
Yeah. Am I going to get the soccer AM?
Well, the match ball?
Yeah.
You should do, actually, to be fair. You should do. It's a proper third time. But to give some context as to why the three of us are sitting down today is because, as mentioned, Sachin was on my podcast a few months ago. Then Anton was on Sachin's podcast last month, I think it went out.
Yeah.
I listened to that and I was like, messaged them both. I was like, right, the three of us need to have a conversation ASAP. And here we are.
Yes.
But yeah, Anton, interesting. I wanted to talk about this because you just mentioned you're kind of like, what did you say, transient?
Yeah.
How are you finding that? How's the kind of adaptation? Because you were working full time.
I was working full time, like selling advertising, did that for like 5 years. That's when I first moved to London, like 5.5 years ago. And then before that, even I had like a proper normal like office job, like the blandest thing ever, in like a, you know, like a business park in Warrington, like outside of Liverpool. It was grim. And then I came to London. Moving to London was amazing, and it continues to be so. But I did, in order to make that move to London, I did have to get another job that was like,
yeah.
And that was just the way things were. But I'm transitioning.
Transitioning now. And what's like how have you found it in terms of A, getting the work, and B, like staying motivated and staying on top of it? Because I know, like, for me, like transitioning into freelance from full-time work, like at first I was like, yeah, this is cool, because I had work coming in left, right and centre, and then there was like a period of 2 months where it was really quiet, and I started to be like, oh, okay, actually this isn't as great, this is actually really hard now, because like, where's the next job coming from? So like, how's that been for you in terms of like making sure you're getting enough work but also paying the bills, but also doing stuff that you want to do?
Well, Sachin will know, I'm literally, like I was saying to him on Monday 2 days ago, I was feeling just really frustrated on that particular day.
Yeah.
I was absolutely chocker. I had loads to do, you know, work-wise, which sounds good, but at the moment, for me, being completely honest, like, I'm producing these podcasts and I'm editing. I'm editing on some and that, and I am enjoying it. But at the moment, I'm definitely going through the phase where the money I'm bringing in doesn't equate to the value that I'm putting out at the moment. But
yeah.
And in answer to your question, on that particular day, I felt frustrated by it and I felt a little bit fucking emotional. But then most other days, I'm pretty good at staying on top of that and being like, well, no, like, I'm doing this for pure reasons. I'm actually loving what I'm doing. Like, look what you're doing now. Like, look who this person is that you're meeting. Like, the excitement of putting something out there into the world. I'm getting all of that. So, yeah, in answer to your question, there's swings and roundabouts, basically.
Yeah. You find the same thing as well with what you do, like having moments of like, I don't know, like ups and downs of quiet times, busy times, frustrating times.
Okay, so it might sound like a brag, but it's not. I used to have that a lot, man, and it doesn't really happen anymore because I've put systems in place. So one of my systems is always be creating clients. even if I don't need them. Like now, I'm not trying to take on any more work, but I'm just in conversation all the time.
That's what I need to do.
Because I enjoy it. Like, it's fun for me, and I don't want to hit that point where, okay, everyone's finished, now I don't have any clients. And that is scary. That scares the shit out of me. Every time I think, like, don't get too comfortable, because it could always happen. Like, 5 people could not pay you, then you're like half of what you should be. And in the beginning, I got really this is really funny. Someone paid their first installment for my coaching program with them, and I was like, yes, winning. That's like more than I've ever earned in my life. So I was like, yes, I'm down. And then like they couldn't pay the rest and they had to cancel. And back then, like, I wasn't really well rehearsed in it. So I was like, fuck, what am I supposed to do now? Because I got so excited that this person signed up with me. I just stopped having other conversations. I was like, fuck it, I'm winning. Like, this is great. But yeah, I think for a lot of people who are freelancing in the beginning, when you're transitioning, it's really important to, like, yes, do what you love and be paid to do it, but also just be aware, like, the more you do it, the more practice you get, the more you can charge, the more, like, you get some, like, lower paying clients first, start raising your fee when you're more busy. Like, there's just certain things that you can put in place. But yeah, for me in the beginning, I made so many mistakes. Now, like, it's very different. I've changed the way I operate quite a lot.
Yeah.
What about, I know you've talked about it on the podcast obviously before, but like maybe like using what me and Sachin have said as a launching point.
Yeah.
How have you found it?
So
compared to us, say?
I somewhere in between, because like I said, I was very fortunate for the first 6 months of being freelance. I had loads of work and I was getting paid fairly well. And then I went to Japan, which was like a month out.
Yeah.
And then I came back and I had like 2 weeks work, and then I didn't have work for like 2 months. And now I've got work again, which has been 6 months. So, you know, it's very difficult because like I'm in a position where I'm trying to work to save money and to free up time to obviously do the podcast and to do all the other stuff, and like I'm in the process of writing a book, and there are all these different things, and skateboarding, as everyone probably knows by now, I've mentioned it pretty much every podcast since I've started. So like for me, I'm getting that balance quite well, but then there's always the fear of like, okay, at the end of the 6 months, what's going to happen? Like where does my money come from?
Yeah.
So it's like that fear's always there, but at the same time, I'm very much, and we were talking about something similar earlier, not exact same situation, but I was like, I'm very much in the present of what I'm doing. Like I don't want to have to think about 3 months time, because I'm not living in 3 months. I'm living now.
Yeah.
Like if I just focus on the stuff that's happening now, the rest will happen. And that's kind of just where I always take my mind back to, and it kind of settles me down a bit, because my mind and my journey, especially with anxiety, is always like the worry of like, what's next, what's happening, like what's the thing, what about this, what about that, and it's like 100 million questions at once, all the time, constantly, forever. So the more I bring myself back into like the now, the more that kind of, I fight that off, and it kind of settles down, and I kind of live with it easier.
There's one thing that I want to mention. When we're talking about like money management, for anyone who runs a business or is freelancing, there's a book called Profit First. It's an accounting system. I don't know if anyone else has heard of it. It's like okay, so let's say like if you come to my house, I'm gonna put food out, but we like on a sharing platter, but we'll all have our own separate plates, right? Yeah. Like we're not all just gonna feed from one place. And it's kind of the same, like you have one account where your money comes in, then you separate it.
Yeah.
So one could be for tax, one could be for expenses, one could be for salary, and then the other one is like something else. But yeah, that has helped me tremendously, because I was terrible with money before. Yeah,
I do that. I get paid into, it's just such a random topic as well to get into. I get paid into one account, then I've got like my day-to-day flex account, which is my debit card, and I transfer money in every 2 weeks, every 4 weeks, but like only like small sums, like 250 quid at a time.
Yeah.
And then I've got another bank, which is like a savings account, and then another pot, which is like tax money, like you said. So I kind of break that up, and it kind of makes the whole process a lot.
I got mad anxiety about the tax. Like I was so scared.
I was lucky. I got a tax rebate this year. I was so lucky.
I got the rug completely pulled from beneath me earlier this year.
Oh yeah, I remember.
Tax.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough when that happens.
They'll lock you in a fucking cage if you don't pay that shit. And that, do you know what's fucked up? Yeah, I'm apologize for like continuing this topic because it's not really what we talked about. But yo, like they don't need a warrant to come into your house and take your shit if you haven't paid your tax. How fucked is that?
It's mad. It's mad. But yeah, I was gonna go try and move into something smooth, but I don't really know what to go into there. But you know, we were having a really interesting conversation before we started about vanity and like image and all that sort of stuff, because Sachin may or may not be going on a date after this. Sorry to throw you under the bus, because when we turned up, I was like, "Oh, you're looking sharp," and he said he might be going on a date after. So basically, we went into a conversation while Anton was setting up about vanity and kind of buying things and doing things to like look good and feel good and the rest of it. So like, yeah, I don't know what the question is really there, I suppose, but like, well, I kind of want to expand on that bit. It's really interesting.
I would like to expand on what we were talking about in the sense of like, yes, you can dress good to feel good, and I think that's dope. But what you said was very interesting, and it's very. I think a lot of people might be in the same situation as me, where it's like, okay, for a long time, I didn't really give a fuck. Like, I would roll with tracksuit bottoms everywhere, not shave. Just not give a shit about my appearance, and just it would feel alright. Like I'd be like, whatever. People used to call me Street Jesus because I had long hair and like I just was rolling with the beard and all that, and I enjoyed it. It was fine.
Street Jesus.
But like, you know, there was a point probably last year where I started to care a bit more. I started dating, and I was like, yeah, when I dress good, I feel good. But then you said I could roll in this outfit for X amount of days, and it's cool.
Yeah.
And the difference, like, so yeah, we know it's personal preference, but when is it, the question that I find interesting is, when is it vanity that you're taking too far, and when is it vanity like, oh, it's just basic stuff that I do to take care of myself? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And also like, 'cause the other thing that I threw in the mix was like, is vanity really you're making yourself feel good because you feel like you look good in other people's eyes? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, for me, and I'm not saying this is your case, but like, you're dressing well today, for example, because you wanted to feel good and you wanted to look good, but you wanted to look good in the other person's eyes. So you're putting that pleasure in someone else's place, in their power. Do you know what I mean? It's not, you haven't really done it for yourself, but you've told yourself you have.
But then,
in a way,
not.
And again, I'm not saying that is the case,
cool.
but do you know what I mean? That's just
that's
how I visioned it.
Yeah.
Where do you think like grooming fits into this whole puzzle?
Yeah.
Because cats groom.
Yeah.
Cats clean them. Animals clean. All animals groom.
Yeah.
So like, where does that fit into this conversation? Because maybe that's just our next level human form of fucking grooming, really, innit?
Yeah, it's true. But then is it that? Because there's obviously the basics. So I think the question is like, when you're doing something, like, this is the question I used to ask myself, is like, am I actually doing this for me? Or am I doing this because I'm telling it's for me, but it's actually not for me at all? It's for other people's opinion, what I want other people's opinions of me to be.
But then let's look at it like performance based, right? Let's say you go to the gym and you're wearing some whack shit, I don't even know what, but like, you're wearing some stuff that doesn't make you feel like, yeah, I'm going to work out. For me, I'm gonna put a t-shirt on, I'm gonna put some shorts on, and I'm putting my headphones on, and okay, for me, like, I have these bin man gloves. When I put them on, like, weight training mode Sachin kicks in. I'm like, yo, I'm here to start putting the UK grime on, Fredo 100, if anyone knows that tune, respect. But that when I get into that frame of mind, then that's a different performance. When I coach, I started doing this experiment, and I put these spectacles on.
Oh, you're telling me this.
And they're huge. They're like 2 times bigger than my face. But then I'm performing in a different way. When I'm in date mode, like, I can go date mode in a tracksuit or in this or whatever, but I'll be performing very differently. So for me, like, what I'm playing around with at the moment is alter egos. So one of my things with the grooming is like, which character do I want to play today?
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah. Or it's like, what side of you do you want to represent today, isn't it? But that's my whole thing, is like, I want to represent all of me as much as I can, as much as possible. I don't know, as much times.
You
as
want to like sort of like, what are you saying? Like, you want to bring your best self?
Yeah, I don't want to. Yeah, but I also don't want to bring like levels and layers. I'm not saying that's what you do again, but I'm saying like, I feel like when I do that, I'm layering myself.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I just find like the whole thing, but the grooming thing's interesting because we were talking about that as well. So I found out that Sachin washes with just lemons.
I'm not using deodorants, bro. Look, okay, check this out, right? When you look at a lemon, what is it?
It's fruit.
Exactly. Like, there's not much else to it. I don't have to be a fucking rocket scientist to figure the shit out. It's there. Cut the bitch in half. It's open. Smells good. I'm done. Like, this, it's not complicated.
Yeah.
But you pick up these body sprays. What's in there? You read the back. It's like reading a textbook. I'm not trying to do that. I'm not trying to live my life like that. That scares me because I think to myself, what could potentially be in that?
Yeah.
It blocks your pores. You're going to get some funky smells. I used to use deodorant like 2-3 times a day. I stank. I had some of the worst BO ever. And when I was depressed, I didn't shower for a couple of weeks at a time. I just used to use deodorant.
Yeah.
It was horrible. I used to stink. But now I use lemon. Do I smell?
Is that because you were buying the deodorant in B&M?
I don't even know what B&M is.
It's like a discount store.
Oh, isn't it?
That joke will work in Liverpool.
Is it only in Liverpool?
Yeah, that'll people will be cracking up over that.
But I agree with that in some context because like I've changed a lot of my eating habits in terms of like what I'm putting into my body. I'm a lot more conscious of because like I don't want to be putting chemical or chemically produced products into my body, and it's hard. Don't get me wrong, but like for example, when I take protein now, I bought vegan protein because all of the sources of protein in it come from plants, whereas all of the sources of protein in like your standard whey, golden standard protein, it's all chemicals. Yeah, and it's like I didn't want to feel like I was putting chemicals into my body, so I do get that with the lemons, but I've never considered like.
Bro, I don't call it conspiracy theory. It's because like it gives a certain connotation, but I'm just very wary of things that are condoned by our society. Like, all right, you can go to William Hill and it's not illegal. It's not illegal, bro. It's fine. Don't worry. You can gamble your house away. No one gives a fuck. Don't worry. But no one will bat an eyelid if me, you, and you walked into William Hill right now. But God, heaven forbid that I want to grow my own cannabis. Fuck me. You know? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, that's where I come at this from. Is like, let's be very conscious of what we're being encouraged to do. If I'm being encouraged to think deodorant is normal, well, who profits from that? And it's not about everyone's out to get me, oh my god. It's just about like questioning shit, like the veganism thing, right? My culture, we're Punjabi, right? North Indian. Everything's about ghee, like cow butter, and like heavy carbs and meat. Like our diet's very rich, and all of the people in the area drink and all that. That was normal. And coming away from that, I realized how toxic that actually is. And I know you don't like that word, but like actual poisons and shit, like it's mad. I don't know. I don't want to go too much into the scaring stuff.
That is, but it's also again, it comes down to like the chemicals that are being used to feed the cows to create the beef that you're then eating. You know, they're not cows that are being fed organically on a farm. They're probably hooked up to some machine being pumped with something. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, again, it all comes down to sustainability and stuff, doesn't it? And it's like, my whole thing is I'm just trying to be a lot more conscious about everything. Even just like now I'm selling like all my old clothes basically. I've sold like loads of old clothes, and now I'm only trying to buy clothes that are secondhand or used, or do you know what I mean, but in good condition, but that they're not going through the machine. And it's like, essentially, I'm not going to be like the sustainability activist, but I'm just trying to do my little part. You know, I've got my reusable bottle, my reusable coffee thing. Do you know what I mean? It's just like, I think it's super important to like do those things sometimes.
Do you know, like, all this stuff that we talk about often, what you've just said then, like, do you talk, like, are there any people that you wouldn't say that to because you just know, like, it wouldn't wash with them? Like,
yes and no.
Like some mates or...
Yeah, like, I've got mates, but I will say it to them, but they would just, like, shoot me down for it. And, like, even, like, my parents to a certain extent, again, it's, like, an old school mentality, like, Italian family. It's, like, it just doesn't fly because they just... do you know what I mean? So it's, like, and it's not their fault. It's the way that they've been encouraged and grown up through society. It's, like, you have to... You know, if you want to be open to it, you can be open to it. And it's just like, I'm open to a lot of things. So I'm just more explorative in my thinking and the way I do things.
But look at why that is, right? So someone told me this phrase a long time ago: people change from inspiration or desperation. Your situation, you've had both inspiration and you got to a point where you're like, yo, no more of this. And I think all of us have had that. where we're open-minded because stuff has happened and we're like, yo, fuck that, don't want that anymore, let's change things. But a lot of people who are closed off to these ideas, and we can come on to masculinity as well, but like, you know, doing certain things doesn't quite fit the idea of maybe manly or feminine, whatever it is. And like, some girls won't ask a guy out, and they claim to be independent women. Well, why are you waiting for someone else to dictate your relationship? Same for men. Like, you know, you don't think yoga's manly, well, okay, tell that to your bones when you're like 93, if you ever make it there.
Yeah, no, it's true. And it's like, and that's why I try and form my own opinions on stuff and try and educate myself on the stuff that I feel is going to benefit me. Do you know what I mean? It's like, and the masculinity thing's an interesting one as well, because again, that's a societal concept that's kind of been put upon us, isn't it? As like free guys, like we've probably had varying degrees of understanding of masculinity. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, Anton's like a butch gym guy. Like, I'm somewhere in between, and Sachin's only just started becoming a butch gym guy. So it's like, do you know what I mean? It's like it's just such an interesting conversation, especially like, I think this day and age, like everything's being more scrutinized, particularly for men. Like, especially with all the conversations about mental health, and you know, like even like this podcast and stuff is like so many examples of talking to people, and men in particular, about not being able to open up, and we don't feel that comfort because like we're not educated in it. And
it's basically a result of like, there's a seismic shift that is moving at an exponential rate. I mean, it's getting exponentially faster, and it's put masculinity in crisis as we knew it. Do you know what I mean? I.e., like, think about technology. Like, where has technology taken us to a place where people have got more time on their hands? Women have entered the workforce properly. You know what I mean? Where does that leave men? The role used to be defined. These are just some of the little things. I've got a real whistle, haven't I? I mean, it's because I've got a gap in my teeth. These are just some of the things that have shifted in society, and I've done for like, you know, let's just say the last 100 years, on a larger and larger scale, at a quicker rate. So like, because it's constantly changing and constantly developing, that's like, it used to be so much easier to define masculinity and place yourself for most people. So
all right, let's just list out a few things, like, just interestingly, like 10 years ago, how would you have defined masculinity?
10 years ago,
I mean, not necessarily 10 years ago. I'm just saying, like,
what
was the definition of masculinity that you grew up with? Like, what was masculinity to you?
How much can you drink? How I can smoke you under the table. Are you? I've never been a fighter, but like, you know, how hard are you? Yeah. And I used to try and be like with the tough guys, because I was like, oh, they're cool. But I think that for me at least back then, it was all about like how much. And I guess like, well, we can come on to what's changed later on, but definitely back then that was it.
What about you?
Yeah, probably something similar. Like, looking at like the male role models in my life, like teachers and rugby teachers and uncles and what have you. They were like, like more. I know there's always been different categories, but like, they really were like generally in the like, I was about to say masculine. You know what I mean? Like, into sport, well built, straightforward, look you in the eye. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like strong characters, like, you know, the rock of the family, the financially
reliable,
the reliable one,
seemingly reliable,
like emotionally strong, like all of these, like all of these things,
emotionally strong.
No, but that was it, isn't it? It's like you're the one who holds everyone together, and you're the one, you know, that guy, like, dad doesn't cry, or like boys don't cry when you're younger. It's like, that was the thing, innit? It's like,
so is that because? The answer is it's a bit of both, but like, I'm thinking, like, was it more because I was immature then, or was that the zeitgeist then?
I think you're right. It's a bit of both.
I think it is a bit of both, but I think it's more one than the other.
Which one?
it's more that was the zeitgeist because that was when you're young, your mind's more malleable and you're more ready to learn things and pick up on things. So if they're the things that you're seeing and being told and you're believing as you're growing up, you're gonna bring those strong beliefs into your early adulthood, your later adulthood or whatever. And it's like, whereas if you're grown up, and I think it's a process of like educating children, but letting them educate themselves, letting them form their own opinions, understand themselves, rather than placing things upon them like you should be like this. Like you're a boy, you should be strong, you shouldn't cry, do you know what I mean, you should play sport or whatever it is, do you know what I mean, that all of those things they force you into being one thing, and it's like you see the outburst of that.
How much do you believe, like, where do you stand on nature versus nurture?
It's 50-50, man. Like, to be honest, I think
that's fair.
Well, at the end of the day, our DNA is made up of our parents, right? That's why we're here. So there's going to be some traces of each of them that you take into you, right? So that's going to make up a lot of, this is my understanding, a lot of your body. I've just been reading a book about physics as well, so it probably plays a part into it, but it makes up a lot of your body and the way that you grow, and you know, my body shape, my eye color, my hair color, that's all come from that. So there's got to be a part of it that plays to the way your brain's made up as well, like emotionally and all that. But like I said, when you're a child, everything's more malleable, you're ready to pick things up, so there is a big nurture part of it as well. You know, there's the classic thing of like, no kid grows up racist, but or no kid is born racist, but they grow up learning to become racist. So that, you know what I mean, it's you see where I'm going with that? I don't know if I've kind of articulated that in the best way possible, but like, there's a big part of both of it. Like the DNA's there, the structure's there, it's how you then utilize that to create the best version that you can. And it's like, I read a book called The Sports Gene, which is about exactly that, like nurture versus nature, and looking at the DNA of top athletes. And it's like, for Jamaicans, for example, they're naturally the best sprinters, and I can't remember exactly off the top of my head, so I might butcher it a little bit, but there was the study into Jamaicans, and there's something specific about the way Jamaicans have grown up through the years that have created this possibility of, you know, bunch of DNA that makes them explosive sprinters. But you're not just going to wake up and run 100 meters in 10 seconds. Like, you need to nurture that to create it. So there's both aspects of it, right? What about you? What do you think? Where do you stand on it? Similar
to you, but like with that example with the Jamaicans, like, I think it's the point you were making anyway, but I'm just talking out loud. Like, it's like a medium term, sort of long term marriage between nature and nurture. Do you know what I mean? That's almost several generations down the line has created like something that is a blend of the two. Do you know what I mean?
Certainly. You look at any of the top athletes. Look at Ronaldo. Like, Ronaldo, probably arguably one of the greatest footballers ever. Like, but he didn't wake up great. He still had to work every day. And you see, I don't know if you saw the interview with Piers Morgan and some of the stuff that he's been saying recently about he trains every day in the gym. He's worked hard to make his body and his technique and his skills as best as they can be, so that he can be the best in the world. Like, he didn't wake up like that. Do you know what I mean?
That's why I'm like leaning more towards 75% nurture, because I think in the early years it's pretty much exclusively nature and then the nurture that you're raised with. But for me, like, I'm supposed to be a pot-bellied, skinny, a body like not very strong dude coming from like all of the men in my previous family. I don't talk to them anymore, whatever. So like, if I look at them, everyone's drinking alcohol and they got these soft like bodies and they've got diseases. If I went down the natural route, which is nature for me, and that whatever's nurtured in that environment, that's what I would end up like. But I love the idea of like, you've got this like, it's like clay you've got, and you can mold it into whatever you want. There's this thing called epigenetics. I don't know if you've heard of it. Like, your different parts of your DNA get activated in different environments. So I'm trying to put myself in environments where I'm, okay, not constantly would be a lie, but very, very often as possible, I want to put myself in new environments to see what new parts are activated. And I think that's how, like, I can't remember if there's a book where, like, Becoming Superhuman, or no, it's not Becoming Supernatural, that's Joey D, but Becoming Superhuman is like what environments are going to help you to perform at another level. And when it comes to masculinity, I think, like, before I did yoga, I was not a very chilled person. I was a wreck. I was angry a lot. And I'm performing at a superhuman level compared to where I used to be because I'd done yoga, and I think that's activated different parts of me.
Yeah. No, I think the mindset thing is really interesting as well. That plays a part in that whole nature-nurture debate because, you know, you've done a lot of coaching over the last few years. So, like, what do you see in, like, the clients that you've worked with in terms of, like, the beliefs that they've grown up with from young, which is, I guess, the nurture aspect, and how that's affecting them in the present day in terms of, like, stopping them from doing things?
Okay, well, let's look at when we're all young. At one point, someone said, "Good boy, good girl," patted you on the head and said, "Well done." That felt good, and you wanted more of it. Then you started to doubt, like, certain things you didn't get the same response, and you started to doubt yourself. And lots of examples around perfectionism, like, "Oh, I don't know if it's good enough to put out yet." Like, a lot of what people want to do, they are scared to fail, and it's because they want the pat on the back. Now, obviously it exists in many different forms, but let's look at putting a YouTube channel on, starting a podcast, starting your business, asking someone out, going to the gym. Like, people are kind of scared or procrastinating on these things because they want to do it right. They're waiting for the right time, and these are just stories that we're telling ourselves based on past experiences. For me, I wanted the pat on the back to say, "You're cool, well done." And I wanted to have friends because I didn't want to be in here. But I guess, like, what I've seen a lot of is the nurture that we got throughout society. What is it nurturing us towards? It's, okay, and this is very unpopular, it's nurturing us to be mediocre as fuck. It's not encouraging you to be extraordinary.
Yeah.
You know, like, and that's not a bad thing. I'll say it's not a bad thing because I don't think everyone's idea of extraordinary is the same. Someone's idea of extraordinary is, I want to be the best parent possible. I want to be there every single day. They don't give a fuck about starting a business, and that's great. Then there's other people like myself who say, I want to live an extraordinary life. We're talking about travel and we're talking about relationships. I want those kinds. That's what extraordinary means to me. But the way you get to whatever your version of extraordinary is let's put the nature that you grew up with to the side for a second. Let's put it in the excuses box over there because I'm not interested in it. And let's look at what you could change with how you're nurturing yourself. How are you parenting yourself now to start creating new stories? Makes sense?
Yeah. And what's, like, because my whole thing is, like, you mentioned you want to live an extraordinary life. So my whole thing is I want to live an extraordinary life now. Because, and I don't mean that in like a...
No, I know what you mean.
Do you know what I mean? Like a... what's the word I'm looking for? Like a...
It's not an impatient
thing.
Yeah.
I mean it in a sense of, like, I'm only living now. Like, the only, like, people who, you know, listen to this podcast will know that I'm always talking about trying to be more present and trying to live in the moment, because we only live moment to moment. Like, the start of this conversation doesn't exist anymore, and the end of this conversation certainly doesn't exist. All that exists is the words that are literally coming out of my mouth this very second. Even the start of that sentence doesn't exist anymore. So it's like, I want to live that extraordinary life now in that sense. So I've spent a lot of my life saying to myself, oh yeah, if I can do this, then in 5 years I can do that, and then I'll be able to do this and that. And it's just, it's like a constant, like, trail of trying to, you're always looking and trying to better yourself for the next thing. You're trying to always do this and do that. And the reason I say this is because I had a conversation a couple of months ago. I was chatting to some family in Australia. My auntie was on FaceTime to my mum, and I joined in the conversation. And I was talking about, I want to, you know, go and do traveling and more, like, next year, etc. And she was like, yeah, but what about work? You know, what about your career? And, like, typical questions that you'd expect an auntie or a mum or, you know, that kind of person in your life to ask. And she was like, and then my mum chipped in saying, oh, he wants to live our life, you know, because my mum's, like, retired, like, and, you know, they've just come back from a cruise or something. She's like, you know, he wants to live like our life and, you know, have the freedom. And I said, my response was, I don't mean this in a disrespectful way, but, like, I don't want to wait until I'm your age to be able to enjoy myself in that way. I want to be able to do it now, because that's I'm living now. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's the moment I'm living in is now. So it's like I want to create that for myself now where I can. So like, yeah, it's just, I just find that a fascinating kind of.
I agree.
Do you
Like,
know what I mean?
and I constantly have this. I have to remind myself all the time,
Yeah.
right? Because I'll think like I'm on the same page as you completely. But then sometimes when I was talking about on Monday, I was really under the cosh with I had loads of work to do, and I had to sacrifice going somewhere to do it. And I thought, oh, like, I'm sacrificing that for this. And I was like, it was to go and watch something, and I was like, you know, I'd rather chase my own dreams and watch somebody live out theirs, blah blah blah. And then I was like, but then I had to remind myself, so when I was at my laptop doing the work, missing the thing, I was frustrated, and I had to remind myself, like, there's pleasure in this. Like, take pleasure in absolutely. So something you've got to program into yourself in order to enjoy now, whatever now is.
Yeah.
Even if now is sacrificing something good because you're working on something, blah blah blah. So something Joe, who's in the other room, who talks about a lot, is like just being great, like going outside, and when you walk outside on a walk, it's October now, the leaves are sort of coming off, like they are coming off the trees, but then
browny,
the leaves that are left are like brown, and like it looks cool. Like the silhouette out that I'm looking at out that window is cool. Like, that's fucking cool. So if you learn to appreciate that, then you are living like a fucking, or you know, you're on your way to living your best life now, as opposed to.
Do you know what? That was so fascinating you said that, because two things that happened this week, right? So Monday, I was out walking the dog through the park and all the leaves and stuff, and I was like, oh my god, this is so beautiful, like picturesque, like amazing. And then today, driving here, same thing. I was looking at the trees. Like, I went down this certain street and it was lined with trees, and everything was just brown and green and just colourful, and it looked beautiful. And I was thinking, it's amazing how the two most beautiful seasons, spring and autumn, are the transition seasons.
That's a good
Whereas
point.
in life, we don't see the transition as something beautiful. We see it as a struggle. And I just, I literally thought that. And I
did you write it down?
No, I was going to, because I wanted to bring it up. So it's so amazing that you used that as an example, because it reminded me.
Let's not forget about that. Well, I suppose we're recording this.
Yeah,
that's a good.
I'm gonna record something about it, like probably an in focus session. But I just found it fascinating how I find the two most beautiful seasons are those, and they're the ones that are the transitions between one I say extreme, but like, you know what I mean, one end and the other. And it's like that thing of yin and yang, isn't it? It's like that constant ever going cycle of like the bad into the good, and then the good into the bad, and then, you know, it's like, that's a little
I like that, you know. I like that. I feel like that's a real metaphor for like me at the moment.
Well,
you know what I mean? And sometimes if you can get mistaken and look around during autumn and be like, oh, it's cold, or it's getting dark, or like, look at the like blah blah blah. Look at the decay. The death on the trees. But if you shift your perspective, you appreciate.
But you know, we're talking about living an extraordinary life and decay. Look at it like the old you is decaying and the new you is starting to be born. Or like, you know, if you're going into winter, like, let me shed those old layers of me. And when we go into winter, I'm hibernating with those parts that I want to strengthen. You know, I'm keeping them surrounded with fat and warmth to keep them going and like to keep them strong. And you're saying your whole thing was being now but not being impatient. Yes, I love that. What I would add to it is, you know, there's this phrase of like, I can't remember it now. It's something like act in minutes or seconds, think in years, and plan in decades or something like that. Something like that. I'm butchering it. But for me, that's how, like, I gave up 3 years of my life to do my healing journey and to build my business at the same time. And during that time, I did, in the beginning, I'm not going to lie, I looked at it like, fuck, no cinema, no dates, no girls, no friends, no clubbing, no drugs, no watching TV. There's none of that. There's literally just my version of fun now is I'm going to go for a 4-hour walk without eating, do my fasted spirit walk, talking out loud about how fucked up things could have been and how I'm grateful and what that became the new definition of fun. That was extraordinary at that point. Watching fucking Big Bang Theory was not extraordinary.
Yeah.
And I think, like, yes, it's great to be in this moment, enjoy everything fully, but look at where you're going as a result of these actions. I definitely agree with you, bro. I think the only life is here right now. However, it's in balance. You can't keep obsessing about the future, but it's, you know, if you know where you're going, then you don't have those anxieties about, oh, fuck, what's going to happen tomorrow or in 2 years. I like the way we were talking before, and I'm not going to brag too much, but like, too much. But the way
just a little bit then.
The way I'm setting up my lifestyle, like I'm probably going to be, in a couple of years time, I'm probably going to work like 5 hours a week. And then it's going to go down to like 10 hours a month or something like that. And I was telling you about that coach, Taki, who makes like over $1 million a month. The guy has 6 kids and they just travel like permanently, and he makes a video every now and then, and he does live streams with his groups. I don't know if I want to get to that point because you have to hire a lot of people and there's a lot of headaches. But for me personally, it's like, I love what I'm doing now. This is the happiest I've ever been. I'm in my prime for like every area of my life. However, it's not good enough. And I don't mean that in an unappreciative sense or like I don't like it. I just mean like I can do so much more. It's like, you know, with the gym or with skateboarding or with like running. This isn't your fastest. This ain't your best performance, but we're getting there. Why are you more conscious about what you eat? It's because your performance that you want to put in, and obviously the other stuff that comes with it. Like for me, if I perform at a certain level, yes, I can take care of certain things. It's nice to be able to take care of my family a little bit. But at a certain other level, I can start doing what I do for my family for strangers. And putting systems in place, like let's build a wellness center that's free. Everyone come through. I'm going to pay that money to the government anyway. Why not just give it to society in a better way?
But also, it's like, I think, using the skateboarding as an example, right? Because obviously it's quite relevant to me, but like I know that I want to kickflip, right, as an example, but I can't. And I know that I'm not going to be able to go out there now on the skateboard and do a kickflip. But I know that if I put in the effort every time I'm on the skateboard to learn it, eventually I'll get to that point. And I think a lot of the reason why the skateboard content, and this is going to sound really weird, but the skateboard content in inverted commas that I put on my Instagram does so well is because people find it really fascinating in watching the progress of it. Because I talk a lot about progress in my mindset and my life, and you know, I'm posting quotes and I'm writing stuff about it all the time, but no one has seen that evolution apart from me and, you know, the people who have been close to me in that period of time. And the first thing you said to me when I turned up outside was, bro, your skateboarding has come on so much. And I was just like, oh, cheers, man. It's like, I think people seeing a physical example of that present, slow, ongoing progress is a really good way to digest it for yourself. And another example is like going to the gym. It's like, I could say, I want to go and bench 100 kilos. I can't. But if I go to the gym now and I bench 40, next time I might try 45. And if I do 45, next time I might do 50. And then eventually I'll get to 100 without even really thinking about it. But if I go to the gym now and say I want to bench 100, it's not going to happen. So it's about focusing on what you can do in that moment at that given time to get you to where you want to get to. And it's, you know, I've always said there's nothing wrong with having goals and a picture and a view and an idea of when you want to get where you want to get to. But when you get there, it's not going to be how you pictured it. So you might as well just focus on everything that's here and now.
Yeah,
they say that you got to appreciate to appreciate the destination, you got to enjoy the journey, or you have to appreciate the destination, you have to go on the journey.
Do you know what I've noticed though?
The journey is the destination.
Exactly.
Yeah, bro. Like that's why I love, like, you know, if I fuck something up, and I do regularly, like my coach encourages it, and I love that because like it's you know, like if you're walking your talk and you're doing stuff like this, your whole life becomes a living expression of what you're about. And now when I meet people, I was on the train and this girl was reading Freakonomics, and I was like, man, when I read that book, I was in like such a different state of mind. And she was like really into it, so I didn't talk to her, but you know, it's just like I was looking at that like an analogy of like, yes, I'm watching other people around me develop themselves, and it's because I'm on that path. And that's one of the things about being on a journey. It doesn't matter what it is. You know, if you're bettering your health, bettering your career, bettering your relationship, it's something that you're progressing towards. You start to see signs around you. Like, I never would have met you guys before because I was a hermit. I was just sitting in my house like, but you know, the journey has shown me like everyone around me is trying to do the same thing. It's really encouraging.
Yeah. What about something that I've discovered about myself recently is the fear of success.
I'm not. I can't understand that.
Why?
I just can't. Like, it's not. I don't disbelieve you or anything, but I just can't fucking. I can't. Yeah. No. I just like. All I'm saying is, I don't know what you mean. Like, what do you mean?
I don't even know what I mean, but I know that that's what I feel. It's mad. It feels mad to say it out loud because it's
like you're daunted by like being busy.
No, I don't know. I just feel like I've got to a stage, right, where I've figured out that what I do is I do something, I get good at it, I enjoy it, and then I get to a point where I go, I don't want to do this anymore, and I almost run away from, not run away from it. That's extreme, but I then divert my attention to something else. So, and I think a lot of that is down to maybe like a commitment issue. Yeah, you know, in terms of like a commitment to being attached to something. Like I spent a lot of my time working in social media, not wanting to be known as the social media guy or like the one extra social media guy. And it's like I didn't want to have that attachment to myself, which is why ironically this podcast now exists. Yeah. But I just feel like that there's a part of it that is that, and it's like there's some sort of fear of success of like wanting. I don't want to be too good. Like you even said it earlier, you don't want to be that tacky guy. You don't want to be that successful. Not
right now. But the thing is, like, I used to have this. Yeah. And I say used to, I don't mean like it's completely gone, but I look at, okay, if I was in tacky shoes now, I'd shit my fucking pants. I would cry. I would be like, I ain't going nowhere. Fuck everyone. I'm not doing anything. What the fuck is this? Because it's too much pressure. Yeah. But then if you look at, okay, what is fear of success? You're projecting. Yeah. Exactly. So let's just come back to here. Is it happening right now? No. But at the same time, guys, I don't know. Like most of my friends are girls, but one of my friends was like, oh, I broke up with my boyfriend because he's got commitment issues. And I laughed because like, this is why I commit to working with people for a year. Because like, again, walking my talk, I'm going to commit to being the best I could possibly be in this thing for time. Like I can see myself doing this for the next 30 years, but I'm not going to put myself like, fuck, I can only do this for 30 years. But I guess it's more of like, let's not take things too seriously. You know, you could be known as the social media guy, but then in 4 or 5 years' time, you might be the skateboard guy who's kick flipping in Tony Hawk's face, being like, "Yeah, I'm doing this shit."
Skateboard sponsors hit me up, no joking.
You know, it's the thing about like, yes, if we project and we think like, "Oh, is this me?" You know, we're attaching ourselves to an identity constructed around certain ideas of success. But if we look at like, who am I? I do this regularly, and people are probably gonna laugh. But I look at myself like, you could die tomorrow. Yeah. And a few people would give a fuck. That's it. And not even in like, okay, that's a bleak sense sometimes. Some people might not like it. Let's look at another sense. Okay, this actually really happened. It's quite funny actually. I was driving home one day and there was massive puddles everywhere. And I drive with my windows down a little bit because I like the air in the car. Yeah. And someone drove past me and loads of water went in my car and in my mouth and in my face, and I was like, and I just started laughing so much because some people see me as like, Sachin, he's a coach, he's and I looked at myself in that moment like, bro, this could have happened to anyone, like it doesn't really matter. But yeah, that's, I think, again, like balance of like, hold yourself in high esteem, but also like don't take it too seriously because this meat vehicle is very temporary. It's gonna be gone.
That's a good point in terms of what you were telling me before about like why or how you're scared of success. It's like if you make sure you don't take things as well as taking things, it's an equal measures of both, but just always make sure you just, soon as you start, this is what I do as well, soon as I'm going about things and maybe I'm with, you know, making podcasts or whatever, recording them or editing them, maybe I've done a few fucking sick things in a row, like over a sustained period of a few weeks, and I and like I'll have to check myself because I'll start thinking I'm sick. Do you know what I mean? I'll be like, no, you just have a bit of humour. Do you know what I mean? Like, and I think that's a really good way to guard against ever getting to the point where you feel like the next step or the step you're at is too much, overwhelming. Like,
it's grounding yourself, isn't it? In a way, like bring
100%.
yourself back to like
just check yourself,
humility and stuff.
I think that's why it's nice to have idols. Like, you know, we could look at these podcasts that are out there, or we could look at Taki, or we could look at athletes, whatever. I like to regularly check myself and put myself in certain other shoes. Like Beyonce's been singing since she was 5. I haven't been doing my thing since I was 5, so it's illogical to compare my journey and hers. But if I look at it in another way, like she did it since she was 5, and look where she was when she was like 19, 20. And then now look at me where I'm here in that same frame of time. I could be somewhere not similar, who knows. But yeah, I think humility and being grounded comes with like you guys were saying, check yourself. But I think everyone should consider their death on a regular basis. Like there's a Chinese philosopher, I can't remember if it was Confucius, every day for like a couple minutes in the morning.
It's Confucius, I think so.
Yeah, he would contemplate his own death and the brevity of life, and looking at himself like, this bitch's going to be over very soon. I don't think he ever said
good idea.
Was it Confucius that had the guy that used to follow him around to tell him, like when he'd walk through crowds of people and they'd be like, oh my God, you're amazing, you're this, and he'd have someone behind him saying, you are just human, you are just human.
Really?
That's
Confucius?
dope. I can't remember.
It might be one of the Stoic philosophers.
He also did this. Okay, I don't know if it was him. I've read this book on Stoicism. It's called The Daily Stoic. I don't know if you've heard of it.
I'm reading it,
Bro, so basically, like, this got me to really humble myself in a really short period of time, because every time I was taking stuff too seriously, like being a victim or whatever, this like idea of like, okay, yes, things have happened, things are gonna happen, whatever. You don't know, but the only thing that you do know is you've got agency over this vessel, and how whatever you decide to do is gonna construct what happens around you. So like, I could come here and get completely drunk, wasted, and just like make this podcast terrible. Or who knows, it could be fun, whatever. But that will create certain results. And if I come in here and don't say anything, and you guys are like, Sachin, why aren't you talking? That will create other results. But that's that whole idea of like, whatever you do with now will determine what happens later. That's what I was saying about the vortex thing with Abraham Hicks. I feel like I'm talking too much with this.
No,
I don't want to take over.
No,
it's good.
But yeah, man, like that whole idea of what you do with now, it puts so much power in your hands, and that's what took away my fear of success, because I don't have that yet. Like, I'm not there. I'm here, and I have like some dogs, I have some food, I have water, I have clothes, I have shelter. Like, just looking at what's around me right now, what's at my disposal right now, that's what helped me to like humble and be like, I'm not doing what Gary Vee's doing yet. What's happening right now is where he was about 20 years ago.
And can you explain the vortex thing again?
Okay, so Abraham Hicks,
you didn't hear this, did you?
No.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Abraham Hicks talks, and I'm probably going to butcher the analogy because I watched the video a long time ago. So they talk about this concept of the vortex. Whatever you want to create, let's say this plate is let's say this plate is the space that you're putting all of your ideas into. So this is like the relationships I want. This is the career I want. This is the kind of, I don't know, the kind of food I want to be eating, the way I want to look, whatever. That's all in the vortex, okay? This space here. Now, if I put my energy into this, and okay, let me make it more tangible. If I start creating future plans and put them into this space, this is not a physical space, but it could be. It could be a vision board. It could be like an Excel spreadsheet, whatever you want it to be. For me, it's more like I do write stuff down and I put it into this space. But this space exists in the metaphysical sense of space too. So it's in our minds. One of the principles of the law of attraction is the law of mentalism. Everything that exists within the mind also exists outside of the mind. But it starts here. So you create this vortex in here. Let's refer to it as the space. You create this space in your head, then it starts to be put out there. And like, I use the example with, let's say you want to date someone who goes to the gym, has brown curly hair, green eyes. You start putting this into the vortex, and you start going to the gym yourself. You start, maybe you put it on your vision board like an actress or actor, someone that you like with those features.
Sounds like you were describing me then, to be honest, mate.
Well, We might have that conversation later.
Is he the date?
Well, we didn't want to tell you, Alex. We didn't want you to feel left out.
Am I in the space?
But you
No, go
start
on.
to see it. It's attracted to you.
Yeah,
Like I won't go into the specifics because the person might watch this. But I said I wanted to meet a certain type of person, and I put it into the vortex, and I started. It 2 weeks, an exact person came.
Do you do something physical, or is your vortex in your head?
So I do both. Like I don't put a lot of emphasis on just the sitting and conceptualizing about it, but that's why I've started to take more time out. So each month I'll take 5 days off completely. Each week I'll take off at least 2 days, and every year I'm going to take 3 months of vacation. But it's only because I can do more of this. And I know this sounds like whatever. Everyone's got their own ideas of it, but the metaphysical work, the work that you can't see. I know that since I started doing that, I can't describe to you because I don't want to give like really specific examples, but everything I've always wanted is happening.
Oh, I need to do this. So what is this, a book? Oh, sorry.
It's a lifestyle.
You got one up on the shelf there.
You've got
Asking what is given.
Okay,
Is that what it's called?
Asking is given. I think that's what it's called.
Yeah.
But it's more like you just build it as a lifestyle, right?
Yeah.
So like you guys built podcasting into your lifestyles.
Yeah.
I built the same thing, like it's a similar thing with the things that I do. But if this becomes like, you can call it a meditation practice, you can call it conceptualizing, planning your future, whatever. You can call it whatever you want. But just putting things into this space inside you, and then having like, maybe it's a vision board, maybe it's a conversation. Like for me, I'm being coached very regularly. So I get to keep putting things into this vortex and acting on them at the same time. But that's these two things are equally important. You gotta have an idea and you gotta work as well. And then combine the two, ask and it's given. That's basically the concept, how I understand it.
And it's also like, so like next year, I said to myself, I want to spend more time traveling, I want to podcast, and I want to continue to, go through this process of writing a book and skateboard more. They're 4 things I want to do next year. And I've, just by saying that to myself and putting that out there physically and just within myself, I am creating that already. So next year, that is what I'm going to be doing.
Yeah.
And it's like, but my whole thing, going back to what we were talking about earlier about being, I want to have an extraordinary life now, is because I can't see why I can't be doing all of that stuff now. Like I'm literally like, I don't know why I can't be doing that. Like, because really and truly, I could pack a bag, I could take a flight to somewhere in Europe tomorrow, and I could start a life there.
Okay, wait 1 second.
Not that that's what I want to do, but I'm just...
It depends. This is just me personally. It just depends how you want to do it. I'm a princess, and I say that with a little bit of humor because all of my friends call me that, because I don't do hostels. I don't do certain things that people want to take, like on travel stuff. I don't do the saving money thing. I'll pay like another whatever it is to take the flight from the airport that's 30 minutes down the road from me instead of trekking it all the way to... Okay, whatever. But I'm not... Yeah, like, it depends how you want to do things.
Yeah.
But I
definitely
but
agree. Is that a mindset thing?
It depends. Like, it just depends what you want. Like, I'm okay with putting certain things off. Like, next year I'm gonna go for a month each country I go to, and I'm gonna be quote unquote working while I'm there.
Yeah.
But like, it depends how you want to do it. Because I could do that with, go to a hostel, pay like 10-15 quid a night, and I'm calm. But I need a space to coach. Like, I need quiet privacy. I need quiet. I don't want someone having sex on the bunk next to me. I've never done the hostel thing, bro, and I'm not trying to do that because I have. Yeah. If I go to sleep, I need silence and I need stillness. And if anyone is moving around, I'm getting anxious as fuck.
Yeah, fair. Yeah, but I think it is dependent how you want to do it. But it's like, I used to be like that. I can't even lie to you. But it's like, again, like a lot of stuff I've done this year is remove a lot of stuff from my life. Like to take away the attachments that I've had to my previous self, my mindset and everything like that.
Yeah.
So I get it.
Yeah.
What about, what's your biggest fear? I wanted to ask this earlier, but I'm bringing it back.
Well, just in general?
So, I mean, like, biggest fear in terms of, like, deep fear, like I was saying about fear of success, for example, or, like, and even, like, I'm scared of bananas or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Which I know a couple of people who are.
Really?
Genuinely have fear of bananas.
Scared?
Fear of bananas, yeah. So I find fears fascinating as well.
Yeah. I don't know. I suppose my biggest fear... Do you want to get? Shall we get deep?
Yeah, come on, let's go for it, man.
I suppose mine is That, and the scary thing is, it's inevitable. Mine is grief, like, because I've experienced that, and it's heavy, to say the least. Do you know what I mean? And it's gonna happen again. So I'm like, oh shit, that's gonna like.
So what was the effect that had on you to then cause the fear?
Because it's so bad, it's so hard, and no one's got any answers to it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That's the scary thing. Like, there's nothing anyone can say that will make me feel better about it. Do you know what I mean? Like, but this is like why we're talking about like being mindful and being present, and I'm practicing that, and I'm practicing meditation as much as I can as well, because some, like, when I'm doing meditation, like, I haven't meditated for a few weeks now, which is like sort of bad, but like the reason I stopped is because I don't feel really immediate effects from meditation personally, but I see it as like I'm future proofing. Like, I want to get myself in a mindset now where when things do come around in life, these hardships that are unavoidable, I'm in a stronger place to be able to weather the storm. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's my fear. And as much as I was probably being a little bit bleak and saying like, there's nothing anyone can say to make you feel better about it, you can future-proof yourself. And a lot of the stuff we've talked about this afternoon is part of that. Living in the present, being happy with now, whatever now is, being accepting it and being happy in it.
Yeah, but I think a lot of that is touching what you were saying about the meditation. You don't feel the immediate effects, but it's like you don't feel the immediate effects of anything really, like, that's going to benefit you long term, because that's not how it works. Like, you don't go to the gym and do a set of sit-ups and you wake up the next day and you got a six-pack. Do you know what I mean? But if you did that every day for 5 years, then you might have a six-pack, but you're not going to see the benefit straight away. And it's the same. That's the thing I think with meditation and a lot of these mindfulness practices with people expect to feel the results straight away.
Yeah.
I speak to people about meditation, they're like, oh, I just can't do it, man. Like, there's just too much going on in my head. Like, it's just that I can't. There's too much thinking going on, and I'm like, yeah. So you need to meditate then. Like, that's exactly why you need to meditate, because you navigate your way through that through meditation, but you're not gonna navigate your way through that.
Yeah. In
the first time you do it, but it will happen over a 10-day period, a 3-month period, a year period. You'll start to feel the benefits. Or longer. Yeah.
Like, for me,
it's infinite.
Because the difficulty for me is with it that I'm finding is that I've been doing it for a while now, like well over a year and a half, and like when you hear people talk about, oh, I meditated this morning, I just felt like, oh, amazing. Oh, like I saw my nan. My nan was in the room. You know, all this stuff, and you're like, I've never had any of that shit. Yeah. Like, it's just boring for me. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, I can't wait for it to end. Oh. No, it's not that bad all the time. Sometimes it is like that. Some days it's hard.
You need to.
But the reason I've stuck to it by and large is because speaking to people like you've said to me, like, it's not about that necessarily. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I just see it as sort of future-proofing. I'm building.
So what do you think then is stopping you from having that kind of experience in meditation?
Mate, yeah, I don't know. It's hard to articulate, because you try and articulate to people, or you'll read and listen to stuff about meditation, and what I want, my answer to that is, what did you ask me?
What is stopping you from having that experience?
Because I can't, and when I'm meditating, a lot of the time I just know I'm not doing it right, but then I know what you're going to say.
What's doing it right?
What's doing it right? There's no such thing. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And you're right, I'm not saying, but like, I'm struggling with that.
But you might not be, but are you not creating a blockage within yourself because you're telling yourself you're not doing it right? So by telling yourself you're not doing it right, you're automatically creating that as a possibility for yourself. Yeah. So you'll automatically then start doing that because you've created it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I don't know if you were part of the conversation, but we were talking about strange things earlier, like doing like ayahuasca and the toad and those sort of mad, deep psychedelics. And I was saying that a lot of the podcasts I've listened to, like listen to a lot of Joe Rogan and Mike Tyson and stuff, they talk about quite like frequently. It's like and from what I've read in, I think Tim Ferriss has written about it in both, like, most of his books, but like I think the whole process of that is to like fully experience the spiritual experience through those psychedelics is the process of letting go.
Yeah.
Like if you're holding on to reality and holding on to things, you're still creating that reality. You're not letting go. And it's like we did episode 100 where I talked about meditation and having those. I mean, I've literally had 3 moments, and it was 2 at the time we recorded episode 100. I've only had 1 since then, of like falling into, like, out of reality and into, I don't know what, something for like short time, like 4 or 5 seconds, just slipped into this thing which is just mad, and it's like this space that is just, it sounds bizarre. Like I can't I can't articulate it. It's something that I felt, and I think that was a process of letting go. But then I could say, I'm not meditating right 99.9% of the time because I'm not experiencing that. So it's more of a process of sitting through it and being with it without building up that fear and that reality of not doing it properly. Yeah. Navigating through it. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think also if you look at other people's experiences, it can sometimes like dampen your own. Yeah. But just find what's right for you, man. Like sometimes I like to meditate walking. You know, just really slow. Like let's say this is your foot, just like push the heel down and really slowly put and it's infuriating as fuck. Like I'm a very hyperactive dude. Trying to do that pisses me off so much, but it's again that letting go. Like, why am I in a hurry? What am I trying to do?
I'm gonna try that around central London.
You're gonna piss a lot of people off.
During rush hour on the tube.
Yeah.
What's your biggest fear?
I was gonna ask you first.
No, you first.
Me. So my actual biggest fear is swimming in the sea. Is my biggest fear. Like actual fear. And spiders. But I don't want to know.
But you swam in the sea in the summer, didn't you?
Yeah, no, I can swim in the sea. I just can't. Yeah. I can't hang about in the sea for too long.
Why?
Just I don't want to get eaten by something. I don't know what's below me. I don't know what there's too many possibilities. I've watched too many documentaries and shark things, and like there's just I don't want to even put myself in the possibility where that's going to happen.
I do. Yeah, I do. I empathize with you. Like it's to a point. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm sort of. It's like when people are scared of planes. Yeah. Like flying.
Yeah.
I can empathize with them because I'm like, it's not my favorite thing to do. Do you know what I mean? And like being in the sea is amazing, but like I can definitely think I want to get out now.
Yeah. Like I'll go in, like if I'm at the beach, for example, I'll go in up until like my waist, comfortable. I can feel the floor. I know what's going down around me. Like if I want to get out, like it's just there. But if you ask me to go further out and start swimming, nah, it's not gonna happen. Yeah. I'll go into like a panic mode.
What about like sailing?
Yeah, I don't mind being on a boat.
Don't you?
Yeah, and I don't mind being on a boat, jumping into the sea and then getting straight out. I can do that, but I can't be on a boat, jump into the sea and swim about in the sea and splash about and have a conversation while we're both just floating about in the sea. I can't do that.
Yeah. I used to have a similar fear.
Yeah.
And then, so when I was really young, my dad, we went to Spain, and there was a little what's it called, Lilo. The little inflatable raft thing. I was sitting on it, I was screaming my head off. I was really young, like, get me the fuck out of here. And like, I was in the most shallow part of the water, but in my mind there was a giant squid underneath, and that bitch was gonna get me. Yeah. But then like I don't know, like I just kept doing it. Like I went to Iron Upper when I was 19, and I swam like so far out that I couldn't see behind me. I was like, oh shit, better go back. And then I realized I'm not scared anymore. Yeah. I don't know. That was kind of weird.
Nice. I do it every year. I swim in the sea every year. Like I go in the sea every year. Like when I go on holiday, like, I'm not scared of getting in the sea. I just can't swim and hang about in it. Do you know what I mean? What about you? The biggest fear?
Practical stuff, I guess. Like I'm scared of. Okay, I'll talk about the actual real fear for me. Is I'm scared of being mediocre. I'm scared of living an average life. I'm scared of like not being in control. And I don't mean like I need to know everything that's going to happen. I just mean like I'm not living under anyone's rules. That scares the fuck out of me. Because I did it for like 22 years. It was horrible. Like people will get... It's like, you're writing the story of your life, but then you give someone else the pen. And they're like, and then Sachin drove off a cliff.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not... even speaking about it now, like, I feel like I need to go to the toilet. It's disgusting. Like, I don't. Oh, but yeah, like, that's one of the fears that drives me. I guess, like, practical things, like, I'm scared of the tax like, you know, if I don't pay my tax, they'll lock you in a cage. I'm not trying to sit around with a bunch of sweaty dudes playing PlayStation in prison. Like, that's just no.
So is prison like the ultimate then?
Not really, because, like, look, and I'm not a tough guy, okay, but, like, I know a lot of people who've been, and they say, like, it's literally just like being at home, but there's no girls around. You can go out for a couple of hours every day. It's basically like being in an office job, but you get a bit more freedom. And you're around a bunch of sweaty dudes who are probably going to be, like, beefing with each other. You got PlayStation, you got drugs, you can get weed if you want. Like, it's not that different to being in an office job where you don't get that much freedom. And I'm not trying to glorify. I'm just saying from other people's experience. I've never been, but I know I'd be alright if I went. I would handle it. I'll get over my bullshit.
So what you're scared of? What would that look like? What would be an example of? What are you scared of?
Okay, this is probably gonna piss a lot of people off, but I'm used to it now. Getting up at a certain time in the morning, let's say 5 o'clock, giving a huge sigh, like, being like, fuck, I have to go to work, and then dragging yourself out of bed, like shoving the toothbrush in your mouth and, like, looking at yourself in the mirror like, why the fuck did you do this to yourself? Getting your hair right, shaving, and just thinking the whole time, I don't want to go here, and having that knot in your stomach, and then eating your breakfast in such a hurry where you're watching the news or you're watching some bullshit on TV, and you're like, what? You're not even thinking straight. You're in a haze, and then you drive to work and you're, like, stuck in traffic. By the way, I did all of this for, like, 3 years, and, like, you're stuck in traffic. You're getting pissed off with the people around you. You're not being kind to anyone. You can turn up the music, or you can listen to something to distract yourself. And you sit in the job. You got back problems from the chair. You got carpal tunnel from the keyboard. Like, everyone around you is giving meaningless bullshit conversation about the printer needs more ink. Sarah's going on holiday. Can you cover? Like, and you're just watching the clock counting down. Time is my greatest fucking asset. I should not be trying to waste that shit. I should not be trying to kill that bitch. But I'm looking at this clock thinking, can't wait till it gets to 5. Then it got evening. Oh, I'm sitting in traffic again. Then I come home. I barely got enough time to eat, watch a bit of TV and go sleep. Then all I'm looking forward to is the weekend where I'm getting out of my mind wasted. I did this for so long. And if I ever had to go back to that, I wouldn't kill myself, because I know I could create a new thing again, but that just scares me so much, because I've seen what it does to people. You know, like, everyone I left behind is doing that, and they told me I was stupid because I left it behind. And that, there's so many problems that come with that. Like, before I left my job, my manager said, if you don't go, I'll suck your dick. And I was like, she was really hot, okay? It's not about, like, demonizing the person, but look where that's coming from. She's fucking bored at work. The relationship is shit, and the boredom kicks in. Hey, let me just hit on this young dude, and they're sleeping with each other and all the politics and all that. No, I don't want that. That's average, mediocre bullshit. I'm not having it.
Nice. That's how I feel the same. I'm, like, going back to the start with, like, the phase I'm in at the moment, where I'm making these podcasts and I'm living this life, but, like, I'm scared of that as well. I'm like, it's so, because sometimes, say, like, I'm waiting on some invoices, you know what I mean, and I'll be like, and there'll be a job there that I could do, and, like, I could apply for and get, but it might be full time, and, like, I will get those split seconds where, should I just do that? Do you know what I mean?
I still have my mail subscriptions to, like, guru.com or something. Every week I'm reminded, hey, by the way, Sachin, we're still here for you. We got you. Don't worry. We'll pretend it didn't happen. You can come back. I'm like, oh, fuck.
I still get jobs from Indeed. Like, for, like, what I used to do. Do you know what I mean?
I've unsubscribed all of those.
I think it's a good motivator. Like, for me, definitely, because I can get complacent quite easily. And when I see that, I'm like, whoa, wait, no.
Yeah. So what's been the biggest thing that you've let go of this year?
Alex?
Yeah, go on, you start, because
man,
I don't know what you mean.
So, the biggest thing that I've let go of this year is I don't know how to word it, but like I've mentioned it a few times in recent episodes, but like attachment to things. Yeah. I've just released myself of so many attachment to feelings, to people, to things, like physical things, to the way that I see my life, just so many things, just so I can be more present and free in my living. And yeah, it's beautiful, man. It's tough. It's been tough. Like, it's been tough, but like, and you know, I've had times this year when I'm like, man, I don't know what's going on, but that was my autumn, bringing it back to the beginning, you know, going through that process of like shedding leaves and stuff to then to hit the winter, to then go through the blossom, and you know what I mean, it's just that cycle. And I think that's the other understanding as well. It's not something that I've let go of, it's something that I've learned, is like the way that life is cyclical, and we live in an ever-changing, dynamic, moving, like, now.
Yeah.
Well done though, that's huge.
Thank you.
Yeah,
it's been pretty light. I'm so unbothered about most stuff now. It's unbelievable. Like, honestly, I literally have no qualms. Like 2 years ago, 3 years ago, I would have been like, nah, why would I want to go move to another country? Like, but literally, I'd have no qualms doing that tomorrow. Like, honestly, I'd be like, yeah, cool. Someone's like, oh, let's go to, I don't know, France for a month, and we'll just see what happens. No plans, just go. I'll be like, yeah, cool, let's do it. At the end of the day, I what I've figured out is, like what you were saying earlier, Sachin, is like, I will always create something for myself out of a situation.
Yeah. Going
back to you in prison. You know what I mean? It's like, and that's the truth, because that's the way that I've led my life, and that's the way I've built my life up, and that's the way that I've educated myself, and the things that I've tried to understand and learn, so I can apply that to most situations. So the whole non-attachment thing has been a phase of like removing and getting rid of those attachments, so that I can freely feel like I can do those things if I wanted to. So
beautiful. I really like that. Again, well done, because that's such a huge thing to let go of.
What about you?
Okay, so everyone who knows this about my journey, you can have a look at it, but like, yeah, when I was younger, there's a lot of bad sexual abuse going on, so a lot of this year I've let go of a lot of my hang-ups around sex, and I've it's pretty loud. Alright. So I think I've let go of a lot of my hang-ups, and I'm not as, like, I don't know what the word is. An ex-girlfriend referred to me as a prude, and I think that accurately described me for a long time. Like, I thought, oh no, it's bad to desire these things, and now I'm just like, I'm not where I guess I'm not where I think I could be at some point in the future, but I'm really happy with, like, I'm so much more at peace with my desires, especially with sex. And the women I've been meeting this year have been helping. Not all of them have been sexual partners, but just every woman I've met this year in the context of dating or relationships has helped me to shed another layer of it. And the one I met most recently, just talking about my desires and then acting them out with this person, it was unbelievable. You know, like, I'm not the type of person who wants to sleep with loads of women, but I just had a big problem with, why do I like certain things, and I thought it was bad. And when I did it with her, it was like, okay, it's not a big deal.
Yeah, that's unbelievable, because I know, and people who do want to hear more about that can go and listen to any of your content, but also the interview we did, episode 102, to hear more. But yeah, mate, I think that's amazing. And I think it's also because I remember we spoke about when you came back from Japan on the episode we did, and I think, like, it's true. Like, I'm, you know, relationships is a fascinating thing, which you could probably say for another day, because that could be another hour. But yeah, I find that all of that very fascinating, because that's a whole, like, world of stuff, isn't it?
Look, bro, especially as a man, like, the vagina is where you came from. You know, if you can make peace with that, and you can really, like, have a good relationship with everything that revolves around the yoni. Like, that's a Sanskrit word for it. I talked to this guy recently. He's a sacred sexual master or something. And yeah, man, I just made so much sense. Since I've made peace with myself, my relationships with my family have got better. If your relationship with the vagina is good, you're looking at, like, where you entered the world from in such a different way. And it's been such a mad journey. I'll probably do a whole episode on my own about it.
It's cool that you can even talk about this stuff,
Yeah.
having been labelled a prude before, because like you're talking and I'm like sort of, I find myself like playing with this wire, like oh my god, we're talking about vaginas. Oh my god, you know what I mean? Like that's good.
So what's your relationship like with vaginas? No, I'm joking. No, what's the thing that you've
I don't know, I've been trying to think while
Let
you've
go
been
of the shit.
talking, but like I think that's something I need to think about. Like I think you both
what's the first thing that comes to mind? If I say to you now, like what's something that you've let go of this year?
You know what's something I've let go of a little bit this year is like, in fact this is 100% true, is this is hard, this is semi-trivial, but like being so emotionally attached to how Everton are doing.
That's
You know
a
what I
huge
mean?
step though.
Like that, but like you could look into that, couldn't you? You could like really like dissect that and why, like what's really going on there.
Let's
You
get
know?
the armchair
You know what I mean?
psychologists.
No,
Yeah,
mate,
yeah,
honestly,
yeah.
I find it fascinating. The psychology around football fans is fascinating to me because I spent a lot of time
And you could,
around it.
and what I mean is like you could probably replace Everton with fucking what's going on in Coronation Street, or like
Yeah.
you know
A relationship.
relationships of the people in it. Oh god, the relationships and what's going on with people in your wider family, or
Yeah.
you know, your friends from back in school, or you know. So what I'm saying is like I let go of being emotionally dictated to by how Everton were doing.
Why were you in the first place though?
Don't know, just what, like what would you say, because you've been through a similar thing,
Mate, it's
because that's something you've let go of, isn't it? Like
yeah.
you're a big Arsenal fan.
Yeah.
You go all the home games, like away games, you spend your money on travelling to go and see them, for better or worse, usually worse.
Yeah, in a minute.
But I know you're not emotionally attached, and like you used to be, probably, didn't you?
Yeah, I'm at the games in the moment. I am, of course. I'm not sitting there like,
Yeah.
Of course, you're a fan. You want to see your team do well. When they don't do well, you're pissed off. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But away from that, yeah, I think similarly, I just realised like it's a game. It's bullshit, really.
Bro, I've never understood this thing. Like I see people like getting Liverpool tattoos and stuff, and I'm like, I still don't get it.
That's because they're Liverpool
do you know
fans.
what? Yeah.
No,
The only way I can describe it to you, right, is conversation I had when I was in Brazil when I was 18 with someone, and football in Brazil is massive, right?
yeah.
So one of the guys I was chatting to, I remember this conversation so vividly. This is how powerful what he said is, because it stuck with me this long. He said that the only love of his life is his football team, above everything, anyone, everything. And I was like, why? And he was like, because he was like, my football team are always going to be there in my life. They're always going to be there. He's like, my mum, I love her, but she's not always going to be there. God, I love God, but God may not always be there for me. My football team is always going to be there.
What?
And it's like a cult thing. It's almost like a spiritual.
It's
like,
a constant. Yeah.
It's a constant. It's a safe haven. It's like a cult. It's a cult. Like, why are people so into God? Why are so people into going to church every Sunday? Why are so people into being Amish, or like why are some people get so into being in like the KKK? Like, I'm not making those. I'm making those comparisons in the sense of like, because you become a part of something.
Yeah, but then look,
And it's big. It's like bigger than you. It sounds mad, but that's what it is.
I can definitely understand where they're coming from, but look what you're doing. You're building dependency on something that's outside of yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not saying like they shouldn't do it. I'm just like, their whole concept baffles me. Like, so your wife, your mom, your God, whatever. How is that not like? How is that not as important to you as this thing, or more?
Because do you know what it is? Going back to the masculinity thing, growing up as a football fan, that defines you. Because one of the first conversations you'll have with most guys you meet is like, what team do you support? Innit? It's true. It'd be like, what team do you support? So straight away it defines you, because It just does.
It's identity, and
it puts you in it. It takes you probably back to like cavemen days and being in a certain like clique of
tribe. Yeah,
tribe. It's like a tribal thing. That's it. Cult's probably not the right word. It's a tribal thing. It's exactly what it is. And it's just tribal behavior.
Yeah.
It's nothing more. But you get fully into it.
But your relationship is like your relationship. You need. This is why I brought this up. Like that is something I have let go of and got on top of. So like. You were talking about being an Arsenal fan, and during the game, you're like, you're emotionally committed. But as long as your relationship with it is all right, like, okay, like, let's equate it to like alcohol or smoking weed. It's an escape. So if your relationship with alcohol and smoking weed is good, then you can take those things as escapes.
Yeah.
And in those moments, enjoy the escape.
Yeah.
Same thing with Everton for me. Like, I like the escapism of Everton. When they're playing in the middle of a game, I'm like, I'm loving it. I'm lost in that. But in the past, my relationship wasn't as strong now with it. Like, there used to be the escapism of during the game. Then there was well after the game, depending on how they did. Was which way things could go before the game, like getting angry, literally feeling anger, like blood boiling, over things. You know what I mean? Like, just got to check your relationship with it, and that's something. But
also, I think it's that I've found that the more I've kind of done my own personal development and self-improvement journey, that has fallen away because you're becoming less. There's less dependency in it in terms of making you, because what it is, you're there as not just as an escape. You want it to make you feel good, ultimately, because when you win, it's amazing. You feel great, everything's fantastic, and when you lose, everything's shit. So then the next time you go back because you want to see them win it, you're chasing the pleasure of the win.
A really unpopular question.
Go on.
Don't you think it's all fixed?
Nah.
Come on, man. No. Alex, Anton, you very intelligent young men. Please tell me that's not your real answer.
Nah, it's not.
Fucking hell, man. Look at it like this. The fucking William Hill and all of them lot. And Betfred and Ladbrokes, the lads are all broken, all of that. What's happening? They're raping and pillaging the motherfucking system and saying, give me all the money. Everton are going to lose this week. That means we can fix the odds in these ways. Get McDonald's giving us sponsorship, even though it's an exercise, whatever. Like, am I stupid?
I think it's quite hard to fix the actual game itself, because at a professional level, there's no way as a professional footballer you strived your whole career to get. If you turn around and said to Ronaldo, "I will give you £10 million to throw this game," he'd be like, "No, I want to win the game. I'm the best. I want to win the game." And professional footballer will have that mindset. Behind the scenes, there might be stuff. Probably is a lot of stuff that goes on.
What was that guy's name? Sam Allardyce or something like that.
Yeah.
He was doing some dodgy shit.
Yeah, that was something to do with.
That was his son, wasn't it? He was taking.
Can't remember.
Was it?
Yeah, but I think at the top level, professional level, it's very hard. But lower down in football, there's stuff that goes on, definitely. But yeah, this isn't a football podcast, so I'm going to flip the question into. So, what's something then you want to take forward into the next year?
Ooh, I got a good one. So I'm having way more fun. From now on, fun is my highest priority. So, fun in the form of like, I'm building stuff in my business that's way more easy. Not easy, but like, I guess different ways of doing what I love already. And I'm going to travel a lot more and doing podcasts in person, starting a new thing, which we're not going to talk about yet. Yeah, just like way more fun. I think that's something I'm focused on.
Nice, I like that. It's good.
Yeah, I need to address the balance between the work that I'm doing and the value that I'm getting from it. Do you know what I mean? Like, is it making me feel super excited? Is it giving me the funds that I need?
Yeah,
that I literally need. If it's not doing one of those two things, I'm going to be looking at that.
Yeah,
I'm chasing more.
Take that a level deeper. What do you want to create for yourself through doing that? Because that's very like face value.
Yeah. I want to, like, when you get that feeling where it's like you're really excited and you're like excited is the word that comes to mind at the moment, like, because you've either done something great that everyone's about to see or hear, or you're about to do something that's out of your comfort zone but is sick. Do you know what I mean? I want more of that feeling. I want more of that feeling.
Nice.
That's what I'm after.
What about you, Alex?
Mine would be create more freedom in my life. I don't mean freedom in terms of like being free, but I mean freeing myself to have more fun, to be more creative, to do more things, to try new things, to meet new people, to whatever it is. Just that sense of freedom. And
what would allow you to create that sense of freedom?
Will allow me to create fun. It's true. No, it's fun. Like, it's like a sense of like, it's present. It all comes down to me to the like being more present. And I think creating a sense of freedom for yourself ultimately brings you into the present. And I think that's for me super important next year, because I've spent many years of my life not doing that, and I want to start creating it more. So that's definitely the big one.
That's beautiful, man.
Thank you. Well, guys, that's been a fantastic conversation.
Thank
We'll have
you.
to do it again. I feel like we've got more to talk about.
So much more.
So much more. We should do this regularly. But yeah, like for anyone listening who wants to find out more about you guys, where can they catch you online? Where can they find out about your stuff? Sachin, you can go first.
For me, it's 3 words: spoon of consciousness. Search that in Google, you'll find me everywhere. I'm most active on Instagram. DM me if you got a question or if you want to say hi.
Anton?
Me, that's again something I'm like I've literally had hours worth of conversation with Sachin, like just the other day. Like I need to build a presence. Do you know what I mean?
But do you?
So like,
do you, or do you think you do because that's what society deems you should be doing?
Well, yeah. Well, I'm talking specifically about like Tuesday night. So Tuesday night is just a concept at the moment. It's in the vortex, and it's basically my podcast production entity.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
But then I'm picking holes in everything you're saying. But doesn't that already exist? You're already operating underneath that name, from a business point of view, and you're producing podcasts.
Yeah.
So it exists.
But I just think it'd be a good idea for it to have like at least a social presence, like social media or website. Yeah.
Cool. Nice. So
I have to get on Wix.
So where can people find you then?
They can't. No, they can't really. Yeah. Like I'm on Twitter. If someone wants to follow me on Twitter, it is BNLMYO.
Nice. All right.
See, that's the answer to that question anyway.
What about you, Alex? Where can people find you?
I am Alex Manzi on everything: Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, I think. But Instagram's where I hang out the most, and you can obviously listen to the podcast Dreamers Disease on most, not all of them, most, because some don't apparently like the podcast. I don't know why. Podcast platforms.
Nice, beautiful,
cool. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Gracias.